個單位究竟幾大，同埋幾多錢？
依家一手樓只會用實用面積表達面積同尺價。
開售7日前會有資料詳盡嘅售樓說明書，3日前有銷售安排同價單。
全部資料同埋成交記錄都可以喺賣方辦事處同埋網站揾到添。
清楚晒。The Residential Properties First-Hand Sales Ordinance is now in operation.
Hello and welcome to the Financial Report. Hong Kong stocks ended flat in cautious trade as investors braced for the US Federal Reserve's policy meeting. The Hang Seng Index was virtually unchanged at 21,225 on turnover of $59 billion. Trading in both stocks and currencies have been volatile in recent weeks as markets wait to see whether the Fed will start to pull back its bond buying program. Now let's take a look at some of today's most active stocks. China Mobile's up by 40 cents, ICBC's down by 1 cent and CCB's down by 3 cents. HSBC Holdings up by 20 cents, 10 cents down by 40 cents and the Bank of China is down by 1 cent. Taking a look at the Hong Kong dollar exchange rates, the US dollar stands at 7.75, the pound sterling's at 12.11, the Japanese yen's at 8.13, the euro is at 10.37, and 100 Hong Kong dollars will give you 79 renminbi. In overseas markets, the London FTSE's up by 52 points at 6,383, and London gold is trading at $1,375 and 15 cents an ounce. In Frankfurt, the DAX is flat at 8,214, and in Paris, the CAC is also flat at 3,859. And that's the finance for Tuesday night. Join us for the main news after the break.
Coming up, main news and weather report.
Sparkling 25.
The ATV 2013 Miss Asia pageant is about to start. Ladies, come and show your beauty to the world.
The ATV 2013 Miss Asia pageant is now open for your application online.
International affairs that concern all of us. Comprehensive research and thorough reports on the most pressing issues. Let's focus on the events that truly matter. Check in current news in Focus, tonight at 8.
With sunshine and water, there'll be Chinese people. Our crew travelled all over the world to find these brave souls who have gone through the toughest time to settle in foreign lands. They did the impossible, and we make sure their stories will be heard. Stories from Afar, every Friday night at 8:30. When it comes to weather, you know it's accuracy that matters. Weather report, tonight at 7:55.
这里是山水甲天下的地方。 这里是刘三姐生活的美丽家园，这里是徐霞客赞美的旅游胜地，天下风景美在广西。天下风景美在广西。 诚意燕赵，胜尽河北。
绿绿的归阳，爽爽的归阳，回到了童年时光。
爽爽的贵阳。
Good evening, you're watching the main news on ATV. I'm Belinda Lloyd.
And I'm Edna Zhe. Here are tonight's top stories.
Chinese white dolphin population plunges to record low because of construction work in Hong Kong waters.
Siwa Leung again promises lawful handling of whistleblower Edward Snowden as China criticizes US.
Brazil hit by rioting and mass protest over public transport costs and World Cup expenses. A 10-year study has found that Hong Kong's Chinese white dolphin population has sunk to a record low. Only 61 were seen in waters off Lantau last year, compared with 158 in 2003.
Conservationists are blaming it on construction work for the bridge linking Hong Kong to Zhuhai and Macau, and they're urging the government to take action.
Conservationists have been warning for years about a dwindling Chinese white dolphin population in Hong Kong, and today they had grim figures to back up their claims. According to the Hong Kong Dolphin Conservation Society, the number of the endangered mammals dropped from 158 in 2003 to only 61 in 2012 in northwest, northeast and west Lantau. That's the lowest in the past decade of monitoring. The group blamed it mainly on construction works related to the bridge that will link Hong Kong to Zhuhai and Macau.
If there's some constructions going on, they may have to shift out of their preferred area, going to other area that they are not used to forage. So that can actually introduce a lot of stress on them.
The situation is said to be even more worrying in northeast Lantau. Work on border crossing facilities for the mega bridge began in March last year, and the dolphin population there has plunged more than 60% between 2011 and 2012, hitting the lowest since 2001. The Dolphin Conservation Society wants the government to provide more protected areas and make sure construction activities don't affect the dolphin's natural environment.
China has stepped up its criticism of the US following the cyber spying scandal exposed by CIA whistleblower Edward Snowden.
Snowden has also been speaking out while hiding in Hong Kong, while Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying has promised to handle his case according to the law.
A day after rejecting suggestions that CIA whistleblower Edward Snowden is a spy for China, Beijing stepped up its rhetoric against the US today in a Global Times editorial. The state-run newspaper accused American politicians of trying to deflect attention to China after their government was exposed by Snowden for running a massive global cyber spying program. The paper warned any attempt to frame China would be an overestimation of US ability to control public opinion. The editorial also accused Washington of imposing pressure on the Hong Kong government and stressed that the SAR would not lose the high moral ground if it does not extradite Snowden back to the US. Here in Hong Kong, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying was pressed by reporters this morning on what his government will do. But Leung chose to reiterate his usual line that Snowden will be dealt with according to established laws and procedures without elaborating. Although Snowden's whereabouts in the city remain unknown, he was in a defiant mood during an online question and answer session with The Guardian newspaper, the British daily which catapulted him into the media spotlight over a week ago. Since he exposed the US National Security Agency's PRISM program in what has become one of the biggest intelligence leaks in American history, Snowden has been called a hero by some and a traitor by others, including former Vice President Dick Cheney, who also suggested he was a Chinese spy. But the former CIA employee branded the spy label as a predictable smear designed to distract from the issue of US government misconduct and insist he only works with journalists. Ask yourself, if I were a Chinese spy, why wouldn't I have flown directly into Beijing? Snowden replied. He added that being called a traitor by Cheney, one of the most hated hardliners in US politics, was the highest honor you could give an American. Snowden defended his decision to flee America, citing the fact that the US government had destroyed any possibility of a fair trial and openly declared him guilty of treason. Answering a question about whether he had more secret information, the former National Security Agency contractor hinted at further disclosures to come. He promised that their publication could not be stopped by his arrest or, more chillingly, his death. Snowden also revealed that he spilled the beans on the top-secret surveillance program, partly because he was disappointed with US President Barack Obama, who he said had expanded abusive government programs while in office. Obama and his officials have defended PRISM as an effective tool in the nation's efforts to protect Americans from terrorist attacks. While Obama has been left red-faced by the scandal, he's still taking the higher moral ground against China on cyber spying. On a US TV show broadcast while Obama attended the G8 summit in Northern Ireland, he claimed that China understood his blunt warnings about cyber spying when he met President Xi Jinping in California earlier this month. Obama said the Chinese side understood that its cyber hacking activities could harm Sino-US ties. Neither Obama nor the interviewer spoke of the harm that Washington's own massive cyber hacking program could do to US ties with other countries. Instead, Obama is trying to calm the waters at home, promising to meet soon with the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board to discuss ways to balance the need for spying by his government while respecting people's right to privacy. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying says the government will continue to increase land supply to solve housing, high property prices and rent problems.
Leung's comments follow a recent study showing that Hong Kong people support the administration's controversial Northeast New Territories development project.
Speaking ahead of his weekly Executive Council meeting this morning, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying cited a new poll to back his housing policy. The study by the Chinese university shows 72% of people believe there is a land supply shortage problem in Hong Kong. Over 80% support the administration's controversial plans to build 3 towns in the northeastern New Territories. Leung said the findings match the government's understanding of the issues, and his administration will continue to increase land supply to resolve housing, high property price and rent problems. His plans to develop the Northeast New Territories have sparked fears that the area will be converted into a backyard of Shenzhen, with visa-free entry and investment opportunities for mainlanders. But the government is insisting that the land is needed to tackle the city's housing needs. It plans to have more than 50,000 new flats built there to house 150,000 people. There have been protests since the talk of the development began last year because it affects more than 1,000 villagers who will lose their homes. The Leung administration has promised to ensure a stable supply of flats, providing enough land to build 20,000 private units every year. But it failed to meet that target in the last financial year, with only around 3,100 flats in the first quarter of this year. Sources who provided the figures are expecting a shortfall this quarter as well. But Michael Choi, a member of the government's long-term housing strategy steering committee, played it down. We cannot just focus on one particular quarter to make a judgment, he said. There is still time, so I am confident that the government will meet its target this year. Choi said land supply is a complex issue and needs time to study.
In other local news, a burst water pipe is being blamed after a taxi fell into a hole following a sudden road collapse in Tsim Sha Tsui.
But first, Hong Kong's jobless rate has dropped for the first time since February. In recent months, Hong Kong's unemployment rate has held steady at 3.5%, but the latest jobless figures have shown a decline.